those of you who don't know me, my name is Christine Higgins. I am the founder of Three Principles New England, and for 2 years now, have organized these speaker series. And some of them are in person, local to us New Englanders, and others are these webinars where we pair a New England coach or practitioner with someone outside of New England, and it just gives everyone a chance to hear more, see more, and experience more. So today, our last one for 2018, we have Lori Carpenos in Connecticut and Christine Heath in Hawaii. And I'd lie if I weren't a little jealous of that right now. They've just finished writing a book together. And so I'm going to let you ladies introduce yourselves and our topic for the evening.
Thanks, Christine. Okay, I'll start off. It's great to see Chris. I haven't seen you in a while. We spent a lot of time doing this when we were writing and editing our book. So this is really fun. Kind of feels like a party and a reunion. And some old faces too. No, I shouldn't say old. I mean,
familiar.
Yeah, faces from before, from the old days, right? So, and I just want to also thank Christine, because you put all this together. It's a huge job. Just putting together a flyer that I've been trying to do recently for something three of us are doing in January in Florida. And you wouldn't believe all the time the three of us put into getting a flyer going. So hats off to you, really, for putting all of this together. I'm impressed.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for participating.
Yeah. Okay, Chris, your turn.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Christine, for doing this. I'm a marriage and family therapist, and so that's how Lori and I got together to write our book, because we both were working in the same field and have been trying to bring this work into our field along the way. So I've been a therapist since the 70s. I had to break that to myself, but for a long time. And I know that one of the topic that we have for today is holiday magic. And for me, the holidays were a time that I felt particularly stressed and distressed. In fact, I developed an allergy to Christmas trees because holidays were so traumatic for me. And so after I learned the principles, that it went away, and I thought I had developed an allergy to evergreen, but indeed it was just an allergy to Christmas. So being able to talk about this is a personal thing for me, as well as a fun thing, because that's really, for me, the holidays now are just such a great time to feel love and connected, and go from having the crazies to some of the best memories of my life.
Yeah, that's what we both found so amazing, not only in our own lives, but in the couples that we treat. And that's why we got together to write this book, The Secret of Love, because people can go, not just myself, but definitely I can point to myself, but the people I've seen, who their befores and afters, before knowing about the principles, and then how they make shifts. It's just sometimes quite amazing, that people can be in one state of mind and in a whole different state of mind in everyday life. And like Chris was saying, especially during the holidays or anything that's high stress, that's when people tend to get the most insecure. What we've seen is that insecurity is what gets in the way for people, and we can't help it, right? The only way that we can have an effect on decreasing our insecurity is by understanding where it comes from, that it's coming from our own thinking. It's not coming from the event. So it was funny today because I was kind of in the back of my mind was doing this webinar later about the holidays. So I'd reflect a little bit, and then I'd be doing something else, and then I'd come back to wondering what we would talk about. And one of the things that struck me is this memory I had of, you worded this so well, Christine, about expectations and how we set ourselves up to do it perfectly. So I had this memory. Honestly, I hadn't thought of this in probably 40 years now. But I was in my first apartment, with other people. It was a house with other people, and I had friends in other apartments and other houses. And I thought, this Christmas, I'm going to go all out. So I baked cookies. I spent, a day or two baking cookies and wrapping them up to the nines, and I would deliver them to all my friends' houses. If they weren't home, ring the bell. If they're not home, I'd leave them on the front stoop. Well, out of maybe 3 or 4 houses, how many do you think actually had cookies at the end of the day when they came home? Either dogs ate them or something happened, I don't even know that I had the wherewithal to laugh about it, but I would certainly be laughing about it with an understanding of how thought works and how, we're all human. We have our bloopers. Bloopers will happen in life. But, knowing that, it really takes the edge off of things. I don't know, like Chris was saying, I used to have such an edge about stuff like that, where I'd really get down and out on myself and berate myself, and and then I'd find everybody in my life who would do that really well for me too.
One of the things that I would, when I was going into the holiday, whatever it was always, I had a lot of positive thinking about what was going to happen. Like somehow being with my family and having this celebration, like I'd get these ideas in my head that somehow that was going to make me happy. And that if everybody acted appropriately, then I would be happy. So of course, what would happen is I would go and get really insecure because I wasn't happy, and then think it was everybody else's fault. So then I'd be like into poor me, and I have this crazy family, and it's like I'll never have any happiness, blah, blah, blah. So it all became about this idea that I thought that happiness or, joy, peace, and love came from the holiday rather than seeing that it came from me. So one of the things that I think people do is they start thinking that their good feeling is coming from the rituals that they do, or the food that they eat, or the presents that they get or that they give, that somehow that's where love comes from. That's where the feeling of the holiday comes from. And as long as we get focused outside of ourselves like that, we end up invariably getting stressed out and losing that feeling, right? So it becomes about doing things and making them turn out in a certain way, like you said, Lori. But it's like the most powerful thing for me, I remember, because I was introduced to the principles by Roger Mills in December of in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I remember that I was happier than I'd ever been in my life. And then Christmas came, and I thought, oh, this will be interesting. And it was interesting because I had been in therapy, right, with a psychologist, and I had changed so much that she told me that I had to come back in a month because she thought I had a hysterical conversion. And so I was going to see her after Christmas. And so the Christmas came, and I went to my sister's house and spent time with my mother, and I didn't get upset with anybody. I didn't get angry with anybody. In fact, I was in just this great feeling. And I was talking to my sister afterwards, and I said to her, I said, gosh, I did really well. Didn't you think I did really well at Christmas? I was so proud of myself because I didn't get in a fight with anybody. And, and she said, yeah, you only left us once. I said, I did? When did I do that? She said, well, you took a nap. I said, oh yeah, I took a nap, that's right. But evidently, I didn't even know this, that every Christmas I would go away. I'd have to leave everybody because I couldn't handle my own thinking about how they should be, which is really funny when you think about it. So anyway, after that, it was just like such a great feeling. And I realized that all of the unhappiness that I'd lived in was just my own thinking. It was, and then memories of each Christmas after that, because it would be another bad memory that would pile up on each other. So I went to my therapist in between Christmas and New Year's, and I went in to see her, and she said, you're still okay? You made it through Christmas? And I said, yeah, it was great. I had the best Christmas I've ever had in my life. And she said, oh, okay, well, I guess it must be real then. And it was funny because she just couldn't go to the place of looking at it anything differently. Like she just made an understanding that somehow I'd changed, but she didn't really understand it and didn't want to learn about it. But I would bother her periodically, but I could see that really bothered her because she'd never seen anybody change that quickly without doing anything, without having anything, any techniques or rituals or things that you would do. So it's kind of seeing that how you feel as you go through the holidays, that's on you, that's coming from you. And the feeling that you get when you're in that state of mind yourself, that's where the magic is. It's inside of us, not from the event we're going to or participating in.
It's so easy to get caught up in thinking that the feeling is coming from somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Until we understand that we have that capacity. It's a capacity to feel love. Just like it's a capacity to think anything, we're born with that capability. It's not anything that we learn, because you see it in infants, it's automatic with them. It's nothing we learn, it's nothing we get from somewhere else. It's nothing that we intentionally create. It's already there. We just have to get out of the way of it.
Yeah, I'd like to have more of a give and take, yeah, Lori, and just have, and if anybody has any stories of their own of things that they've seen and how their holidays have, how you see the holidays differently, we'd love to have you share that.
Yeah, it would be fun, like a party of sharing people. Right?
Yeah. I have one more story, and that's a Thanksgiving story. My mother, so I first learned about the principles in December, and then so the following Thanksgiving, I called her up. She was living in a small town away from me, and I called her up and I was talking to her, and she said, the thing I'm the most thankful for is that I got my daughter back.
Wow.
And I thought, wow. And I thought of myself, yeah, and I got my mom back. Like, what a great gift.
That is awesome. And when you were talking about how you realized that the feelings weren't coming from the holiday, but they were coming from the feeling inside of you, and that love was available anytime, the thing that just that I heard was every day could be a holiday.
Yeah.
Inside. Mm-hmm. That's what's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah. and that's what makes the magic of life, really. Mm-hmm. It's like knowing that and seeing that, so that that's a place that you can always get back to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a state of mind, I could be at the checkout at the grocery store and be in one state of mind, or in another state of mind worrying about the next thing I have to do and the next thing in the future, and what I forgot to do in the past. Or I can be in that moment. It's really the same if you're at a table with relatives on Thanksgiving or whenever. Yeah.
I think it's also interesting. Don't you think it's interesting how, as human beings, we've developed these times of getting together with family for very, sometimes they're religious, sometimes they're secular, but there's a way that we kind of know to go towards those feelings of thanksgiving and of gratitude and of love and peace. Like that's that innate health in us, and so we would create these get-togethers to kind of celebrate that and be more aware of it, more conscious of it, and not even knowing that really that's inside of us. But that's kind of that innate health coming through us all the time, like it's always been there, right? And so we created these things, and then after we create them, we mess them up by thinking about it too much, right? Like we just we try to create the feeling by doing, instead of seeing that we are that feeling. And that's why taking the time to really slow down and honor that and express that and share that makes it come alive again.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point, that really just remembering that we are everything that we need. We don't need anything from somebody else. That's what I found, with my couples, that as long as they're looking for love and acceptance and understanding and from the other person, they're feeling a lack, that they're not getting something, they're not getting enough. But when they start to see that it's their own feeling, it's their own understanding, and then they don't get they don't really get upset at all at the other person. They're more apt to ask the other person a question. So if their partner begins to upset them about something, then if they realize in that moment that that feeling is coming from them, from their own thinking, from their own take on what's happening, their own interpretation of it, then they can ask a question, is this what you meant, or how did you mean that? I'm not sure I'm taking this right. Mm-hmm. And that really clears up so much, because people don't realize how easy it is to misunderstand somebody. I used to, my brother is a big tease, and I haven't always seen it as teasing. I would see it as, how can we pick on Lori? I'm the older sister. I'm 4 years older than he is. But I always thought he would pick on me. So recently I'm at the house and I come in. I think this is pretty good because I'm wearing red. Usually I wear black. And I walked in and he's always, telling me that I wear too much black. So I'm really happy. I'm coming in my red jacket. It's kind of raining out and I've got the red rain jacket. My brother says to me, "What's that? How old is that? You look like Katharine Hepburn. Katharine Hepburn used to dress like that." And I'm thinking in my mind, wow, that's a compliment. I like her style. So that would have leveled me in the past, mm-hmm. honestly. And now it's funny, it's interesting. It doesn't do anything to me. And my brother too, he's a fashionista. That's not me. His first job was with Brooks Brothers. So he's very conscious of fashion and what people are wearing, And me, I like being comfortable. Yeah. So who's got a question?
While we're waiting for someone, I've shared this story before, but it popped into my head, Lori, when you were, I think it was you, Lori, when you were saying, we don't really know what the other person is thinking. And when we understand where that whatever feeling we're having is coming from, then it can occur to us to talk to the other person and really understand their reality of the situation. And there was a time, like 11 years ago now, and my husband and I were living in a house on the highway, and I was starting to hear rumors that the housing market was going to go down. So I called him up and I'm like, can we sell this house? Please, can we sell this house? I don't want to live on the highway. I don't, want to be stuck here if the housing prices go down. And he's like, sure. So within 2 weeks, we had the house on the market. Unbeknownst to me, this whole entire time, he thought that I actually wanted a divorce. He thought it had nothing to do with the housing market and that I wanted to divorce him and I was trying to cash out. So you can imagine how he started treating me, thinking that that was my motivation. And it never occurred to him to talk to me. It was years later. And things got kind of ugly because of how that was going, because in his mind, this was the end. So it just goes to show how truly different we can, our separate realities or our thinking can be, our experiences can be. So I see now that we do have a hand up. I'm sorry, Slecia, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name. Why don't you tell us? I've unmuted you.
Oh, thank you very much, Christine. I don't have the camera on because it would affect my internet connection. So I hope the audio only is okay for you ladies and
Perfect.
gents, the ones on the call. What just occurred to me actually is a story, and that happened last year, just 1 month roughly before Christmas. And one of the things that I do as well is that I am a mindset head coach. And roughly around that time, I was doing a number of what I call breakthrough sessions with potential clients. So I had a lady that had a big group on Facebook all about relationships. We get on the phone. I start going through the process with her. And since I've been looking to this understanding, everything is about the understanding, whether I want it or not, just comes out of me. And people will see whatever they need to see in the moment, right? I feel it has nothing to do with me, really. There is a deeper order at play here. So the session happens, and I leave the lady in a really great place. And what I like to do is to get a follow-up call. So I arrange a follow-up call with her for roughly a week after Christmas. And when we get on the phone, even though, mind you, that our original call was about business, we didn't discuss relationship. We get on the phone and she said, guess what? I had my best Christmas ever. And why is that meaningful? Because this particular lady, she was basically divorced, right? And she was in a situation where her ex-husband kept the children. He had remarried after that. And his new wife actually loved his children and my client's children. So there was a little bit of kind of jealousy from the mom and the stepmom because the kids praised the stepmom. And after that session we had, all of that, at least a large part of it had gone away. So that is what I would like to share. Whatever type of work you do when you are looking to this direction, we never know what the other person is hearing and might be exactly what they need to hear in that moment. Thank you.
That's really the beautiful thing about this work, is that if you're just talking about how we work as human beings and how we can live in more beautiful feelings, people move toward that without even realizing it. Like I didn't even realize that I had changed that much over Christmas. I thought, of course, everybody else was better. But it's always, as you see things differently and you feel differently, everything has to change in your life. It's like, it's not about fixing a problem. It's seeing life from a different place. I think that one of the challenges we have is that, as I do a lot of family work, and when we come together as a family, we have a lot of thoughts about each other, and some of them aren't that good. And, like you might have different political preferences these days, or you might have different, we have a very diverse family. My nieces and nephews, we have someone of every religion that I know of anyway. We have one spouse that's a Mormon, one spouse that's a Muslim, one spouse that's a fundamentalist Christian, and one spouse who's Jewish. So we pretty much cover most of the bases, which to me is the most wonderful thing in the world. But you can see how people sometimes get caught up in their thinking about each other or what the other person believes. And then we also carry around a lot of the past with us. So when we don't understand how thought works, we come together and then we start thinking about each other in a more negative way in terms of what people think about us or what we think about them. And then you kind of replay. It seems like people replay things that were done in the past, just do it over and over again. And that, to me, it's like being able to see that you can like be really focusing on being present with people. Like when you're really there and you're not up in your head, you're not bothered by the past like that. Like you see people through the eyes of love. And when you see people through the eyes of love, they're funny, or they're cute, or they're insecure. You just see them as they are without a judgment. And that to me is one of the things that gets people through their past and their belief systems. Otherwise, it gets on your eyeballs and you look at each other and it looks like what you're thinking is really happening and it's really very real.
Yeah,
So
that reminds me so much of, you know, how people have this set picture of a person, like you were saying, Chris. You know, I'm thinking of a 20-year-old I have in my practice who talks about, she's really young, she's looking at buying a house, she's really advanced for 20-something. And she says that her father still interacts with her as though she was that freshman in high school, or rather freshman in college, you know, the going from high school to college can be quite an adjustment for people. And so she failed a course, one course, a very smart girl, but she failed a course her freshman year in college. And her father still treats her like that crazy person who failed a course, you know. But she's able now to see that that's just how he sees things. And she had this wonderful, she told me she had this wonderful heart-to-heart talk with him recently. And she felt like he started to hear her, maybe for the first time. Mm-hmm. So it's really something. And she didn't have anything on him having to hear her. So in other words, she knew she was going to be okay, whether he understood how she had changed and grown and learned from that experience as a freshman. But it'll be interesting now to see if he really does see her through fresh eyes. Mm-hmm. Rather than that old view, you know, like I hear that from parents so often, that they see their 50-year-old child, you know, as the 12-year-old they knew, and interacting that way. And boy, it really changes things for people when they realize that, like Chris was saying, we're constantly changing. There's always change and growth, and people see things fresh. Whether they know about the principles or not, that's true of humanity.
You know, I just got through talking to a young man, he's about 30 now, I guess, and he's got a father who's got some pretty significant mental health problems going on. And he was talking about getting together with the father. Hadn't talked to him in about a month. And so he wanted to get together with him and was hopeful that he would be able to have a different kind of conversation with him. And so I told him, as we were talking, I said, you know, I think what you want to do is go have a conversation with him and see if you can stay in a good feeling no matter what he says. Like, just be present with them, listen to them, and just see what goes on inside of you when you do that. Because I think you'll start to see how your thinking about your father gets in the way of you being able to have a good conversation with him. And if you sit in that feeling, I told him, if you just quieting your mind and you're just present with him and you're coming from a place of love, you'll be able to impact him in a way that you never really understand. You'll be able to get connected with him. And the worst, even if your dad doesn't do anything different, the worst thing is that you get to have a nice lunch with him because you're in a good feeling the whole time. But I think we kind of forget that. We try to get other people to change so that we could be happy, you know, because they obviously have these problems, and if they were different, you know, we wouldn't be bothered by them. But the power, it's a powerful thing to see that feeling and be in that and sit in that in yourself, because that's really, you become like a mirror for that same state of mind in the people you talk to. So when you come from that place, it is like magic happens. Like I don't understand it, but I've seen it in my life many times where I'm in a better place, and suddenly this person that I've known for years seems to be different with me. They seem to talk differently with me. They seem to be differently with me. And I always thought that was, you know, like they changed, but I really saw that as I changed, and I was in that feeling more of the time, and I could live there deeper, and I was comfortable there, and I was that kind of that experience of losing my belief system for a minute. That everybody's capable of that, and if we did that, we wouldn't have the world that we live in. We'd be able to have peace, really not just celebrate and hope for it for the year, but really live in that feeling. Because that's really how the world is going to change. If it's going to change, it has to come from that place, like each one of us touching people at a deeper feeling, from a deeper place in us. And sitting in it yourself, like not letting your thoughts trick you to be drawn. That's how I feel like I get drawn out sometimes. Like, you know, like somebody saying, over here, Chris, come over here. And I just follow those thoughts, and pretty soon I'm reacting or I'm upset about something. And it's, for me, that's like, I can feel that when I'm doing it, sometimes sooner than later. But just knowing that I don't have to stay there, that I can go back to that deeper feeling in myself and just, you know, let it go. That's a lifesaver, man. Because that's kind of the ability to get over things, to be able to, in an instant, just see somebody else in a different place and have a totally different feeling about it.
And the fact that we have this built-in data center, you know, we have this built-in, it's feelings, it's a compass that's just built into us, that our feelings, it's a feedback system, will let us know when we're getting caught up and we're going down that road of, you know, self-righteousness, that we know what's right or better, or it comes in a feeling. And boy, knowing that's a lifesaver. All of this is so much of a lifesaver for me and everybody, recognizing that everything is coming through us, through our own ability to create an experience out there. We're not having a direct experience of what's out there. It just turns everything around. And you know, to what Chris was talking about, I find that also, I don't know if you do, Christine, where, you know, when my feeling state rises, it like brings that forth in the other person. I think everybody just wants to naturally rise to a higher state. It's like a sort of a magnet, you know, and who doesn't want to feel better? You know? We just get caught up in a bunch of crazy ideas that comes from our personal thinking, our ego. And man, it's palpable. You can feel it. So it's like night and day the difference in feeling.
You know, oh, I'm sorry, Lori, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I just, what's striking me about what the two of you are saying is like, so if you go to an event or, you know, with your family, whatever, a gathering, and you're meeting each person from a place of love with fresh eyes and beyond your ideas and beliefs, I can't think of a better gift to give someone. Like, wow, what a gift to show up that way. You know, a lot of us, and yes, it's a gift for ourselves too, but wow, it's a gift for everyone.
Yeah, that's the gift of non-judgment, right? Yeah, you're so right. Yeah, that. Just like we have the ability to place judgment on things and people, we also have the ability to see it for what it is and let it go and not care about how, you know, judgments, not care about placing judgments on things and seeing it all and people as neutral. Like, and seeing you, we can see when other people are getting caught up in their personal thinking, in their insecurity. And I found that when I just get quiet and slow my own thinking down, it gives them I don't know, a feeling of greater security. Yeah, that feeling of security is contagious. And that settles other people down. Yeah, I've seen it time and time again. And that's a gift to recognize that. You know, to be able to realize that that's something that happens in nature. It's fundamental. How nature works. It's the nature of humanity. Yeah.
Paul, I see you unmuted. Would you like to?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, I'm just kind of fascinated by what you're saying because it sounds like a fresh approach, and I'm just curious in what other contexts can I question my projection? You know, the idea that what I'm really seeing is me. You know, and or you know my projection, and you know I can see, you know, coming up, you know, to a person to try and let go of what ideas I have about them. But there must be all kinds of other situations in life where we could use the same idea. And I was just wondering if you'd give me a little head start.
Well, Paul, you know, what came to my mind is not knowing. Listening to you, that just popped into my mind that, you know, there's this idea of not knowing what's the next thing that's coming around the bend.
Yeah.
Is a very neutral place to be in. And it's full of really interest. I was going to say excitement, but it's not really, excitement is too high. It's more of interest. What's going to happen next, or what's this person going to say next, in this space of not knowing. If we don't have these preconceptions of, you know, having an idea of where the person's going, where they're headed, what they're trying to, and just like a purity of listening, more of a purity of mind without anything on it, not having anything on your mind, and just seeing where the next moment goes. I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I guess I could just do it without even anybody else present.
There you go.
I could just look around me and start wondering about everything that, it got there through my putting it there. If it's in my apartment, and wonder what's that doing here. By the way, I wanted to say hi to Christine Higgins. I live in Acton, and you live in
No
Littleton, I
way.
guess. So,
I actually live in Acton. My PO box is in Littleton.
oh my, yeah, yeah, hi. Yeah, we got a nice snowfall. I was out cross country skiing on it today.
Oh, gorgeous. I wish I were doing something fun in the snow today.
Yeah.
I'm really
Lovely.
glad I'm not doing something fun in the snow today.
Oh.
You know, Paul, what's the interesting thing about the principles is that when you see that the magic in life comes from something deeper than what you think it does, that you see that we're connected up to this incredible energy, this incredible love, and that every single human being is connected at that place. Like we all come from the same source of love. And so whenever you're with people and that's how you're looking at it, it's like you're like seeing people that are awake to whatever degree they're awake to, the fact that they are love. That's that you bring the magic in you, like you're living in it. So you're right about that. It doesn't matter where you go or who you're with or what you're doing. When you're in that place, everything is cool. Like everything is interesting. So you don't want to like get yourself thinking and trying to be interested in that. But as you see how the principles work more, you'll get a deeper understanding and your mind quiets without effort. And when that happens, this feeling gets stronger as it comes through you. But that feeling isn't everybody. And that feeling then is what changes how you see things and what you see and who you see in it. That's kind of the magic of how your life changes. So when people change in a level of consciousness or a level of understanding, their whole life changes. It doesn't like you just don't change so that you deal with the holidays better. It's like as you see it, your work is less stressful and the holidays are fun and you have good friendships with people and you're connected with people so much that life is a blast. And that's kind of so it's like, it's just you walking in that feeling and then you start to see how reality kind of changes to reflect that. That's the fun of it. So you're catching on to that. It's like the more you see that, like, oh, I could live here. It's not about enjoying the holidays. It's enjoying life and staying alive in life. You know, I think what happens is what we call go to sleep. You just kind of go to sleep in your own thinking. And then your feeling is kind of blah. It's kind of like not that good. And then when you wake up and you're present, you have people say, I'm trying to be present, but when you are in the moment and you've got that, you feel a sense of presence, like you feel that energy in life, you feel the love in it. And that's what wakes you up. Like, wow, hey man, this was so fun, or oh, I had such a great time. Like, I'll give you an example. When I got married, I didn't get married till I was 39. And, you know, because I'm a marriage and family therapist and I work from the principles, I told my husband, I said, look, we're getting married, so this is it for life. This is the only marriage I'm going to have. And so just know that before you marry me, there's no getting out of this. I feel like I was watching The Crown on Netflix, and the Queen Elizabeth told her husband that, like, we don't have the option of divorce. So I said, this is going to be my only wedding. I'm going to have the best time. I'm going to be in the best feeling possible. So I talked to my husband. I said, let's just really enjoy this day and really have a good time in it. And so the day started out with, I had a lot of positive thinking about the rain. And people we were getting married at my girlfriend's parents' house on the beach in Kailua. And I just decided it wasn't going to rain because it's my birthday, my wedding, and it's not going to rain. So I was quite cocky about that. And of course, what happened is it started to pour, and it was pouring cats and dogs. And we had to move the whole wedding because I didn't get any tents. We had to move it all into my girlfriend's parents' house. So we're all cramped in this little house. But the only time I lost my feeling was my husband's cousin was playing music, and he started playing religious music. And I said, no, Hawaiian music. I thought, okay, that's it, Chris, that's it. That's your only meltdown for the day. And I went back, and I had the best time. We had the best time, and people would talk about how much fun they had at our wedding for like 10 years after the event. Like they'd go, your wedding was the best wedding ever. And so that, it's just, it's like, well, you're there and it just goes out from you.
I saw that Misty, oh, sorry, did you have something to say back, Paul? I saw Misty.
Oh, I just say thank you.
Muted.
Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah.
I love what Chris said about, the principles, really, that's that bridge between the unknown, the spiritual world, and our everyday physical life. And isn't that what the holidays were supposed to be about to begin with? Right? Yeah. And then people complain that it's gotten so commercialized, and we're so worried about having the food right and the gifts right and everything just perfect. Well, we've all been talking here about how the best gift is a beautiful, loving state of mind. And that's whatever understanding I have currently of the principles, that's what it's given me. That understanding has given me this ability to recognize what's really important. It's not the little things that people and I can get caught up in, and it's not the little things that are in the physical world that matters. Yeah. It's the feeling behind it. It's the feeling that we're sharing. So, yeah, that was great that you brought that out, Chris. But we can also take it to being practical. We have a few more minutes if anybody's got like a practical question they'd like answered.
And if not, then if you two wanted to take a minute and tell us a little bit about your book that's coming out, that would be awesome too.
Well, do you have anything else to say about the topic, Chris, before we talk about the book?
No, I'm good.
Good. So,
do you have a copy?
The book was quite a project. And
do you have a copy of it?
You know what? I don't have a copy.
I do.
I'll my office. Do you?
Yeah, I will get it.
Show a copy of it. I'll talk while you're looking for a copy. So it's on iBooks, and it's the first run of books. The only reason we each got a copy, and the people whose stories were in the book, they got a copy. And the real first run is on a truck somewhere in the Pacific. It hasn't reached the publisher's warehouse yet. So it should be there soon, and then it'll be available on Amazon. And yeah, it was. I learned so much from writing this book. You know,
there it is.
Can you see it?
Can you just hold it a little bit higher? There we go. The Secret of Love.
Unlocking the mystery, and
yeah. Well, yeah, I love the title. Unlock the mystery, unleash the magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's incredible, beautiful stories there. We have a website, or Facebook site rather. And I recently ran across Chip's story, Chip and Jan. Chip and have a story in our book, and he was talking about it at the last school last summer.
Mhm.
You were there, Chris, I think, right?
I was, yep.
That story, how much he changed.
Mhm.
For sure. Ladies, thank you so much. I really enjoyed spending this hour with you. Thank you for being here and sharing your stories.
Oh,
Is
thank you for inviting us. It's very sweet.
So much fun.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for doing this. Yeah.
And thank you everyone for showing up and spending this time with us. Some faces I know and many I don't know, so that's always fun. And Paul, you'll have to shoot me an email. I can meet you for coffee here in Acton. So is there anything else, Lori or Chris, that you wanted to say, or shall I unmute everyone for a goodbye?
We can unmute and say aloha.
All right. They're all unmuted.
Yeah. And have a
Aloha.
wonderful holiday, everyone. Thank
Goodbye,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Yes,
Bye.
goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Aloha.